This next panel is called Out of the Bubble, How to Reach New Audiences, featuring Will Sword and Jordan Reese, our specialists at ONErpm.
Welcome to the advertising seminar of ONErpm Academy. Thanks for tuning in and joining us. I'm Will Sword, Associate Director of Artist and Audience Development, and I'm here today with Jordan Reese, who's our Global Head of Advertising.
Hey everyone, so nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in. In this seminar, we're going to talk a bit about YouTube advertising, Spotify ads, as well as Facebook and Instagram. So looking forward to diving in. Great. So I guess for us, really, video and YouTube is so important for our artists, and they're constantly releasing content on platform and trying to figure out new ways to build their fans on YouTube. For us specifically, there are two main types of campaigns in which we focus on. The first type of campaign being in-stream campaigns. These campaigns are focused on really driving the maximum amount of views at the lowest cost. These campaigns also might help generate further engagement on your channel. Further engagement, which we care about, is basically actions like likes, shares, adds to playlist, the ways in which we're really measuring which our artists and fans are engaging on platform.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, Jordan, that we have such obviously great expertise in-house in this, but it's great that you're talking about the fact that you can grow on platform, which is also somewhere that an artist can make money. So the money you invest in those YouTube ads can end up paying itself back with those long-term subscribers, right?
For sure. Really, it's about building that core fan base that's going to continue to engage and stream and listen to your music in the future. In running these campaigns, the cool part about it is that you're able to add a call to action and tell your fans to go ahead and watch now. And, you know, these types of ads will really help generate the maximum amount of views at the lowest cost. So if you're really looking to maximize your spend on YouTube, I would try to focus on those in-stream types of ads.
And how would you use the discovery ads that you mentioned?
So discovery ads are also a video. You can use a video asset, but it's basically these campaigns are focused more on that video engagement. You're going to see a slightly higher cost per view than the in-stream types of ads. But basically, discovery ads will appear alongside to the user, recommended alongside other YouTube videos, on search pages, or even on websites within the display network. Cool thing about discovery ads is you only pay when a viewer will choose to watch your video by clicking on the ad. So these campaigns are really focused on maximizing the engagement and getting those clicks and getting those earned actions that we love.
Right. So even if they don't like it, they've at least taken the action of going to your video in the first place. So they're at least very actively paying attention.
And they're showing intent to engage again in the future. So it's really just about trying to get your content in front of the user that's going to care the most. And sometimes it's doing a combination of two different types of ads to reach those types of fans. Really, in running these campaigns on platform, you know, we see a lot of similarities between platform and social. What are the types of targeting and options that you run on Facebook and Instagram?
Right. So as Jordan mentioned, I focus a lot on our social advertising. And I think the biggest platform, you know, in the world, in that space, the biggest social network is definitely Facebook. I think, you know, especially in the United States, there are changing trends, and folks tend to use Instagram more, although it can vary by genre. But I think, you know, one thing we can never take for granted is that the audience pool on Facebook is bigger than almost anywhere else. And I think the amount of sophistication we can use when we're targeting on there is also pretty second to none. And so Jordan asked about what are some of the ways that we run our ads there. And in a similar way, on Facebook, we can run ads for both engagement or video views, kind of just, which might be similar to that in-stream ad that she's talking about on YouTube, that might get a more passive user, but might get some of their attention. And then more traffic optimized, or in our case, conversion optimized ads, where we're really specifically trying to focus on moving people that are interested, have shown some intent on the platform, on Facebook. Maybe they've been engaging with your Instagram account. Maybe they look like people that have been engaging with your Instagram account. We're trying to push them out to Spotify or to somewhere else, a DSP that might, you know, that where those streams might be of more value, because we do look at Facebook as being kind of like a DSP. We know that we can monetize for our artists with their premium music videos on platform, and with UGC content, so like people engaging with your sound on Instagram. But I think at the end of the day, we all think in a big way about, can we build our followership on Spotify? Can we get more subscribers on YouTube? Can we get streams on Apple Music and other platforms like that? Because we know those can pay out at a higher rate and more quickly. So those are a couple of the ways that we target on Facebook, or the kind of ads that we run on Facebook. But the ways that we target, you know, one thing I always recommend to every artist, you know, if you spend a couple $1,000s mastering your album, whatever it is, you're proud of it, you want people to hear it, you should spend a similar amount on advertising, and that can be on YouTube. But some of it should also be on Facebook. It's a crowded ecosystem, so it can be hard to get through to your biggest fans. But sometimes even just $20 or $50 hitting your engaged fans, the folks that are already engaging with your page, will make sure that everyone who already knows your name is seeing it. And beyond that, after you've done that engaged pool, the two things you can do is you can look at either a lookalike audience, which is an audience kind of where it takes your engaged audience and it says, what are the 10 things these people have most in common, and show me 1% of the US population, or Brazil or Mexico or Russia or whatever territory it is, 1% of the population that is most similar to that. They have these interests most in common. So that's one way to do it. Or, you know, if maybe you're engaged and lookalike audience aren't that strong yet, you can also target by interests. So Facebook has a really lovely platform, their business manager and ads manager, the ability to target by any number of large interests. And I think one thing to always keep in mind is, you know, you're probably not going to be able to find that exact small band that you think is totally like you. But if you think from a broader perspective, if you're kind of trying to look more broadly at, you know, you make indie rock, you ought to be able to find some of the larger, you know, maybe the 1975, they're not exactly like what you want, but they've got a fan pool. And you should start with those broad interests and then try to narrow down, because some of the folks out of the couple million people that listen to the 1975 will engage with your post. And then the next time you post, they're in your engaged pool and you can follow up with them. So I think there are a couple ways to think about how we target on there. And there are a couple kinds of inventory that we can bid at. And it's definitely a worthwhile platform for folks to explore. As I mentioned, one thing we're always thinking about is Spotify followers and Spotify monthly listeners, and that's a department that Jordan takes the lead of and is really focused on. And Jordan, maybe you could share a bit about what we can do on Spotify directly on the platforms to advertise at fans that are already listening to music.
Yeah, I really love some of the offerings that Spotify has when you strategically layer it in as like a holistic marketing campaign. It's a really great spoke to help promote your content, especially if you're trying to connect with existing fans or discover new fans. Something I personally love to talk about is their audio ads. People often ask, how do I make an audio ad? What's the best way? How do I target? Like, what is this supposed to sound like? Some kind of interesting tips and tricks I've learned throughout the years. It really works best when an artist is talking to the fan directly. Recording an audio liner where it's in your voice or in their voice, including a call to action. Really making it as authentic to yourself and your voice and your brand. Like, add your flair. If you have, like certain sayings that you say, don't feel free to throw that in there. Like a cool example would be like, hey, Spotify, it's Jordan. Like, how are you? Like, let's get it poppin'. You're listening to my latest album, the ONErpm Academy. Like, click the banner to keep on listening. Like, trying to add your flair, your tone, to really make it specific to you. Another really important thing is to go ahead and share your music in that ad. So if you have a Mac, you probably have the app or the app Garageband. This is a really simple, free way to go ahead and take your audio and mix it. So what you can do is take your 15 seconds of voiceover and layer that over 30 seconds of your track, fade in and out your audio, and it sounds professional and amazing. And you're able to actually hear not only your call to action, but you're giving the user that 30-second tease of the audio. This is going to incentivize them to go ahead and click through. The other really important thing that seems so basic, but we often forget, is to give a clear call to action. Especially if people like now especially use Spotify and Apple and these platforms, and they're very much like lean back. They're just kind of on and streaming throughout the day while you're working or cooking. That's why it's really important to have that call to action, because it really jumps out and it really prompts your listener to search for your track and save it to their library. It's always good to test different creatives and maybe try 2 different small ads. Try one in one tone, one with different type of tone, and run them side by side. And in that, you'll be able to see sort of what works best for your user and who responds and converts the most. And the cool thing with Spotify is there's a lot of ways to reach fans. The targeting on platform has expanded throughout the years. You can reach your existing artists' fans, or you can reach fans of similar types of artists. You can target considering age and genre. You can target by location. There's a lot of ways to strategically go after these campaigns, especially if you have, say, like ambient tracks, or maybe music that would be good to study to or work out to. You can really target people in real time listening to those types of contextual playlists. And finally, don't forget that you ultimately want your fans to click through to a destination where it's going to be as easy for them to stream as possible. So having them click through either to an updated playlist where you have your top 10 tracks, clicking through to the album directly itself, clicking through to their artist page where you have your new release pinned on top, so it's as in plain sight and easy for users to see. This is really how you're going to see those conversions and saves and see, the ROI on these campaigns. And don't be afraid to take up the full 30 seconds of ad space. Even if you just have 5 seconds of your audio liner or 10 seconds, let your music run for that full 30 and take advantage. And I think those, as far as immediate tips and tricks for Spotify, those have been the most low-hanging, easy ways to improve the quality of your ads that you're serving on platform. And I know for you too, over the last year with the expansion of Snapchat and TikTok, that's really been the bread and butter of building out your department. Do you want to talk a little bit about TikTok and how their new ad platform rolled out?
Sure, I do. And I did want to note one thing, and this is a difference between TikTok and Snapchat that is an advantage to Spotify, is that on Spotify, you can target by any artist you can think of. If their music's on Spotify, you can target at their fans. So if you are running an audio ad, you can be much more specific than you could be on Facebook, where we talked about, okay, I'm in the pop space. I got to just kind of look at, Billie Eilish. I can't look at somebody closer down to my level. But on Spotify, you really can. A big difference when you come to TikTok is that whereas Facebook maybe has those just big names and Spotify has every name, TikTok doesn't have a single name. And so the dawn of TikTok advertising, I think, has been big and impactful this year. And I think for a lot of avid TikTokers, maybe they're not thrilled about it. But it's one thing we've learned right from the outset is that this is probably the most sophisticated user base that social media has ever had. Folks know exactly what they're looking for. And obviously the TikTok algorithm is second to none. Folks are, have really queued it up. I'm interested in comedy and I'm interested in nature and I'm interested in arts and crafts. And if you show up and just say, hey, listen to this clip of my music video, they're going to keep scrolling right by. So the biggest thing we've learned on TikTok is it's content first. And I think the biggest thing we always have to look for if you're going to create a self-serve ad account on TikTok is you want to be thinking strategically about what's happening in the first 3 seconds of that video of yours. And as Jordan was talking about, what's the call to action? What do you want them to do? Are you asking them to follow you on TikTok? Are you asking someone to duet with you? Are you asking for someone to stitch with you? Are you asking, for comments? Hey, everybody drop a comment of something you want to hear me write a song about or something like that. There are infinite ways that you can approach folks, but you need to think strategically. If you're going to pay to promote something on TikTok, you need to think strategically about how you're approaching them. And it probably shouldn't just be as simple as, hey, I can't make rent this month. I really need you to stream my music on Spotify, because probably that's not going to appeal to that many folks. A more, wholesome, creative approach, talking about what's the inspiration behind this song or, the video everybody knows on TikTok, is playing this song for my blank in the car. My parents, my ex, my friend got his song on the radio. Check this out. We're going to surprise him with it. There are lots of interesting ways that you can capture somebody's attention, but that's the most important thing you have to think about is if you don't catch their attention in the first 3 seconds, if you don't have a box at the top saying, wait for the big reveal, and if they do keep swiping, you've paid for that impression, and you maybe haven't thought seriously about how you're really approaching the audience. So TikTok has grown in a big way this year, and they've also rolled out Spark ads, which are a way to promote your own profile content. And the same can be said on Snapchat. You're very vague targeting, but if you bid aggressively at the outset of your release cycle, you can always follow up with each new single, and you can follow up with everyone that saw your last ad. So even if your first ad doesn't go that great, just know, as Jordan was talking about, you're identifying folks with the intent to listen to more of your music, folks that are at least a little bit curious. And if you start at the top of the funnel and you start bidding broadly, you'll always be able to hone in and find folks that are a little bit more interested. So if at first you don't succeed, and, you know, in our advertising department, we always encourage you to just try again, because each new iteration, you'll learn a little bit more about your audience.
Totally. Same thing with on YouTube specifically. As you continue to run campaigns, your audiences will continue to hone in better and better. Something we love to do is really focus on action-based campaigns. So creating custom audiences for people who have either visited your channel page or watched specific videos or liked your content or added to a playlist. Really focusing on serving your ads to people who have already shown an affinity for your content, and then going ahead and making custom similar types of lookalikes. So you're really focused in on the type of user who's going to enjoy this sort of, you know, music that you're releasing. So I think the key takeaways here, it's not about how much you spend, it's about the quality of who you're advertising to. Unless your focus is just overall brand awareness and reach, then we're going to go far and wide. And really focus on the quality of the content that you're advertising. If it's a visual, make sure that your call to action and your artist name and release is super clear. Make sure if you're recording it via audio that your content is created in the right type of file, that it sounds clear. And yeah, really try to focus on finding fans on new platforms. If you haven't played around on TikTok, now more than ever is definitely the time. I think you would speak to that too.
Yeah, there's no better time than today to get out there and, you know, as Jordan said, you're making content you're proud of, you're making beautiful visuals, you're making great audio. It's worth investing in yourself. It's worth spending the money to make sure, or at least try to show the music that you believe in to folks that will maybe share your vision. And I think if there's one thing we can emphasize as we leave here today is invest in yourself, take the gamble, you know, try to show it to folks that care, and, you know, each time get a little bit better, get a little bit more focused on who that core fan base is, because it may surprise you. Your music may find an audience that you never would have expected. And I think that's always our goal here, is to try to find new fans for our artists. So we hope you've had a educational experience here at ONErpm Academy. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.
Call it ATL South in the whole entire world. Get up, get into it, get it, Bob. Looks like a job for a Billy Bob. Let's work.
Stranded in the middle of harm's way, where all of the guns play. No father hope affects the feng shui. The pastor prays for Harambe before every urban night is underneath the ash like Pompeii. Look what they've done to us, far beyond music. Jesus could have been John Lewis, but I can't prove it. But I can be the conduit to reconnect you to it. And we are the ones that people expect to do it. Back to business and being black's to business. And anything other than that is sacrilegious. Black for spitters and clap back for niggas. To the moment that the mothership comes back to get us.
Are you ready? 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 Come on.
Niggas ain't ready cause their minds ain't right. They don't walk by faith, man, they walk by sight. They die by the knife cause they live by the sword. They don't give a damn about feeling of the more. Ready for whatever program for destruction. Hard head, stiff neck, won't learn instructions. Can't be a king with your pants on the ground. Can't be a queen trapping ass round town. You're looking for love in all the wrong places. 13 colonies founded by places. Chasing nightmares disguised as wet dreams. Don't hold your breath, wait no freedom to ring. You want reparations from your slave master. Everything good until you wanna buy Alaska. Ask about all the gold that they stole. How dare you put a price tag on my black soul?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Biddy Mob organized noise. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Biddy Mob ready.
On top of the game, deliver the same, forever the same. It's simple and plain like Mary the Jane, avoiding the pain like yin and yang, and Jordan the Haynes. You're giving me brains and teaching me claim. The victory aim, the pistol and pop, enemy drop. He crooked like cops, fraternity click. These people too slick, and daddy like trick. I hustle on quick, the intricate shit. My brothers are rich, we give and we get. Better for time, never too kind, giving the sign. Fist in the L, ain't giving a care. My people are dying, and mamas are crying. Standing in line, my youngers are trying. Going
always ready. Come on.
Wake up every morning in blackface, sipping out a white cup, looking at Rat Race. Black hands with no hands. It's a chess game, cowboys and rap bands. It's a flex game, hit sex games, money back games. Let the nigga flip the script on this game. 100 round dicks, 40 extended clips. Ain't no quarters in the street. The folks making hollows. Guilt got a fever, make the feds wanna follow. Being blackball's blackball. And baby daddy and your baby mama get hook dick. I can tell by your eyes you counterfeit. We in the land of the have-nots. Blood dots, 6 spots. The Mexican pipeline, pine trees, skyline turn pink at nighttime.
Are you ready? Pretty mob organized, always ready. Chuck D, public enemy, ready. Cause the curtain lights out, roll the credits. Come on.
Ya rapeo por instinto y le deseo algo distinto a los que veo en laberintos. Brindo con vinos y extinto. No me brinco ningún brinco, mi nombre está limpio en el recinto. No me quiera convencer, ni me quiera hacer creer lo que ni usted ha creído. Menos si puedo ver que aún no me pudo entender y que lo que intenta hacer es lo que yo hago y no ha podido. Ya no discuto, mejor disfruto. No me disculpo, es con sinceridad que esculpo. No hay truco, nací en el surplo. Crecí con Curco, Alice in Chains, Rage Against con Nietzsche y Fruco. Hoy suplo, males y la opción es más dedicación y menos denigración. Hoy surco, mares y la opción es más meditación y menos medicación. Sé que de algún modo hay moraleja, está en un robo y quien se queja pincha el globo. Aquí se creen abejas porque critican todo y tan solo son ovejas queriendo cazar al lobo. Son tan solo ovejas queriendo cazar al lobo. Muchos se creen abejas y son cerdos en el lodo. Una buena por aquí, una mala por allá, si es el ciclo todo el tiempo. Boca llena porque sí, mucha bala porque ajá, nos estamos consumiendo. La veña para los que sí dan la cara de verdad, los estamos conociendo. Nos asedian y aún así no paramos de dejar mucho amor en cada intento.
If you're a musician, You should be really excited about this one. We're going to be speaking with Lion Babe about the creation of their new album Rainbow Child during the pandemic. Don't miss it.
Cool.
Hello.
What's up?
Hey everyone, we are Lion Babe, and my name is Jillian.
I'm Lucas.
And we just wanted to take some time to talk to you guys about our newest release of our album Rainbow Child. Lucas is wearing the new merch from it. That's the official album cover. Just because we haven't really had time to reflect and talk about the process. And I know that there's a lot of young creators out there and people and peers that would be interested to hear about this. And we just want to deep dive for a little bit. So here we are.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess we could first talk about, how we started this album or where the process really began.
Yep.
From
From the way beginning.
I guess even before the album, it was more just like we were just back into writing. We just finished touring our last album, Cosmic Wind. So
Which came out in 2019.
So this is probably around, fall 2019 after the summer. And when we first started doing some writing, I mean, we were still doing shows and touring, but that's, I guess, probably when we first started doing just sessions with other producers, or just in here ourselves every day. We're in the studio right now, just, making ideas and like kind of just jamming, trying to create a lot of different vibes and things that we could later on like build onto to make a full song or record or whatnot.
Yeah. And then, basically our day-to-day is like we're in here making music. So we kind of at that time had just finished an album, and we were actually getting ready to do like a lot of touring with that album. We were going to go overseas to Europe and potentially Asia and a bunch of things. And then the pandemic hit and COVID hit. And that really uprooted our schedule, which I'm sure uprooted everyone's schedule in life. But it was a blessing for us in some ways as well, because we had recently moved into this studio space, and we did get to really kind of hunker down and start writing a bunch of music. So after writing almost about 30 fleshed out ideas, which was pretty big for us, just because, a lot of times if you're an artist like us, you're on the road, you're doing brand partnerships where you have to fly this way, or you're working on other projects that aren't necessarily your new music. This was a time that none of that was really happening as much. So we got to kind of just go in and work. We are in a loud studio if you hear that. And yeah, so once we kind of made a bunch of music, and that was just our daily kind of therapeutic way of getting through everything. You wake up, watch all the news, and just, we were talking amongst ourselves about how crazy the world was. Like the music was helping us and soothing us and making us feel better. And that kind of planted the seed of, okay, what is this next project? Because while we started working, we came up with a lot of different vibes. We're very eclectic. We're from New York City, and I think our sound has a lot of different influences. So we started to see what it would be like to concentrate some of the new ideas into particular projects. So this one, Rainbow Child, really came out of that, having a bunch of music, looking at what we had, and then realizing that the strongest thing that we felt we could do is make a concise piece that sounded sonically like it was in the same world, and then thematically with what we were going to be talking about with the records also came from the same place. And that was really to help us all, heal through the pandemic and give us just those vibes that are meant to just kind of soothe you when you're going through it, like one of our songs. So that's really what planted the seed, is just our reaction to the pandemic.
Totally. Yeah. I think, even maybe some of the ideas we made that we started closer to like the end of 2019 or going like right into the beginning, like, in early January in 2020, like might have been in a certain vibe, maybe a little more dance or, funky or something like that. And then, yeah, definitely once the world started getting hit with all this change, we just felt a little different. Like when we would come into the studio, we would naturally make different kind of things. And, I think for us, we just decided that's where we want to go first amongst like whatever the 30 records we kind of were making at the time.
Totally. And I think it changes, as we grow, we've changed our approach of how we make music and how we make projects. Like before, I think when we first started, we felt like we wanted to have a huge variation of sounds in projects so that we could really showcase all of our, whatever we're interested in. And then I think now that we've done that a few times, we felt that, especially with people's, just the way the world works and attention spans and everything, it's nice to have stuff that feels like they all have a little home for themselves, just because people can process it a little bit easier. So that's why the sounds are similar for this project. So
definitely. And then even this project, while it does have a lot of music, the majority of it is from that time when we started after the tour. I feel like a few of the ideas at least, whether it's like We Got a Beat X amount of years ago or even song like Radiant Child and Get Up, we originally, like, I think Radiant Child, we started even before we started the records that ultimately would become on Cosmic Wind, because we were still in London when, like, the first time when you were like do like the string part, we were still.
Oh, I thought that was in Brooklyn.
No, that was in London. I think like.
I just remember doing the.
Oh, maybe that was there. I don't know. It was like really soon after. Yeah.
We don't know.
But it was like, it just kind of goes to show sometimes, you might start an idea like whatever, and then 3 years, 4 years would go by, and then you're finally like, oh, you know what? This is now feels like the right time for it, or I got the other music now that kind of accompanies it, because maybe we felt like on the last album it just didn't really have the place it needed as much as it does on this record.
Totally.
And even the songs to go around it, or I think Get Up was also made during started during the last batch, and for whatever reason we didn't finish it, and just it kind of reemerged. Now I think sometimes we'll just have even all our songs that aren't finished, like the basic ideas where it's just like a groove and maybe a little melody, try to like keep that in a playlist. So it's kind of like, let it sit on the back burner for a while, but then, later on it comes up and you're like, oh, I know what to do now with that. I can hear it better now. Exactly.
So don't ever feel discouraged if you have something and it feels like the timing's off. Just like listen to that. If it feels like you should wait some time, you can. And the only person that's going to be anxious about it is you. So, but it'll come together, because sometimes that it can get crazy when you're just like, oh, I want something out. And even this project, I think when we first started, we thought, oh my God, we're going to put it out right in the middle of everything and it's going to be amazing. And things take time. Like, I think that's something we are still learning to just embrace, that, whether it comes to creating visuals or music or recording or getting features or just putting it all together, especially us being independent artists, you have to put the time in and have a lot of patience, because it can't all happen every day, especially if you're doing a lot of these roles yourself. And I think there's a lot of value in that, because you learn how to be a full-fledged, multifaceted artist, and you learn how to edit videos and create things and really shape your world. But it does take longer than, having someone to shoot it off to and making it happen and stuff. But that's a choice that, you know, every artist has to make, whether they want, how involved they want to be. And we have made a choice just because of the experiences we've had, that we love being hands-on. And even if it requires more work, we like to know that, you know, we're really guiding the ship. And, you know, I think that's what makes us really proud about this project too, because even though it's probably shorter than, you know, our last one, it feels really strong in that we knew that we wanted to make it as full as possible. And that's also, you know, adding visuals to every song and making this a visual album, which was something that was a dream of mine. And I know, you know, we just have so much fun doing that. And we can talk a little bit about that maybe.
Totally, yeah. I mean, like Jillian was just saying, this is our first album where, you know, there will be a video for every song, which is super cool. Especially just seems like visual is just so necessary these days as far as like really completing the, you know, getting the vibe or the point across, or stimulating the listener to the fullest of really, like, you know, letting the song have the fullest life it can.
Totally. You know, because we're in a content driven world right now, which is very cool. But it's also, it can be really daunting. And, you know, I think everyone has been figuring out what works for them. And, you know, there's artists that have really like flourished on TikTok. And then there's artists that love to make personal videos and share stuff and save the music for one-time things. And I think for us, you know, we love to just share our music with you guys. Like, that's our favorite thing, is sharing what we're creating, and just focusing on that aspect of things. So that's why we really put a lot of energy into the visuals and really creating like a world, because, you know, I think those things can live for longer than those little videos, in my personal opinion. And also coming from our backgrounds, like I used to be a dancer, primarily, and then wanted to be a performance artist. So for me, when I look back, these are like, you know, pieces of art that we've created over the years that you can, you know, it's like they're time capsules, which is really cool. And that's not everyone's choice, but, you know, it's definitely something that we value. So, totally. And way back, I mean, when we first started, I just remember like we had an amazing session with Pharrell Williams. Obviously, everyone knows who that is. And he was talking about how once he spoke to Missy Elliott, and Missy was like someone who I admire so much, Lucas admires so much, and is such a visionary. And she almost, as she was writing the song, she would already see the visual. So that has been a tip that I think has played into us so much, getting that advice very early on. And especially with this album, just kind of like wrapping your head around like, okay, what is the world you're creating? And then how are these songs going to match those? So usually we have the music first before all of that stuff, but it was really helpful to kind of have this landscape and the imagery of an actual rainbow to play off of from the beginning, because that really helped us be like, okay, well, what does a rainbow have, and what does it need? Rainbow to have multiple colors, and what does a rainbow symbolize? You know, so we wanted to really touch on all of that. And I think rainbows represent so much. They represent freedom. They represent, you know, mysticism and hope in general, and magic, and also youth and fantasy and all of those things. So we just wanted to, and just art in general. I think a rainbow is like one of the most artistic things that nature creates. It's so beautiful and, you know, mysterious. And so we wanted to really tap into that with all of our visuals, and always trying to give you a little bit of this surrealness, but then also mix it with stuff that felt really like us. So even with our new video going through it, where, you know, we become part of nature, we become part of the skylines, part of the sunrise, and that's like the inner and the outer emerging into one. So, you know, almost when you are in a dark storm, like that actual thought of the sun will rise again, the rainbow will come after the rain, and being that being that, like basically molding into that. That was the visual that we felt that could, you know, resonate with you guys. And the other thing is, you know, you have to make the visuals and you have to make the art that resonates for you and that feels right for you. And then it's up, once it's done, it's out for everyone's interpretation. So you honestly don't have any control over that. And all you can do is set an intention for yourself, and hope for the best and hope that people, you know, respond to it. And I think when you are so focused and so direct on what you know that you want, it ends up inherently happening. Like people connect with it because you've put that intention in there, you've put that heart in there, and then people can really feel it. So yeah, that's just a little tidbit on the visual side of things. And you know, and then also we had amazing people that we got to collaborate with during this album. And that usually comes from Lucas, just his ear. And like, as we're writing a song, he might be like, oh, who could we have on this? And whatever. And so even with, you know, Get Up, that having Trinidad James was like super cool because, you know, we tried to find someone who, obviously we were fans of, one, but two, like tonally, sonically, vibe-wise, can just like jump in and add this other color that we felt that the song needed. And then to obviously have him there for the video was just amazing too, because he was just such a natural and so smooth with it all, in his outfit and and just his whole vibe. So, you know, it's always a blessing being able to collaborate with people that you love. And, you know, honestly, that comes through DMs and stuff. So sometimes you just have to put yourself out there and like put a feeler out and hope that they respond. And, you know, and then a lot of these connections that we have, Oshun as well. I mean, Ghostface, we just like went for it. But, you know, it's just through meeting these people, connecting with other artists and becoming friends with them, so that when these moments happen, you know, it feels organic, it feels exciting. And then, you know, it's something that's kind of been in the making. So definitely, obviously, I know we're still in the midst of COVID and stuff, but definitely make connections, because, you know, this is truly about the artistic community. Like, music is for everyone, but it's also, you know, it's about bringing people together. So that's one of the most exciting parts of not only doing live shows, but making an album, is like all the people that end up being involved in the process. And, you know, you have this big team that becomes, you know, your family for those concentrated months. And it's really special.
Totally. Yeah. I think, you know, just to build off what you're saying, definitely, if you're, you know, collaboration is, I think, so key today. I think it's just more exciting, especially since it's, you know, so easy to do now, between sending people records back and forth. People are really used to it. I think even when you see like the track listing, it's like, oh wow, this one has this person, I love this artist also, and like really, you know, interested in what that song might sound like. Yeah. And but, you know, as far as like, you know, achieving those collaborations or getting those features, I think, you know, it's really, like you were saying, important to tap into your relationships and people, you know, people you're fans of, people that when you're doing shows, or, you know, growing as an artist, you meet people at different events, whatever it is, anything, you know, from going out to like you're performing, like even Oshun, I know our friends knew them from way back, and then we like years ago had a Red Bull show with them at Baby's All Right. So, you know, even though that show was probably like in like almost 4 years ago, but, you know, it's just nice that those kind of foundations for like when you're reaching out to people, because you kind of know like, oh, I like your music, you dig mine, and that we, you know, there's already a vibe there. So it's not as, you know, you're not just kind of necessarily cold calling someone, which is totally cool to do too. I mean, on the flip side of it, you know, also this album, amongst working with artists we've known and are met for, like Trinidad and Oshun, you know, we worked with Ghostface, and that was just like, the other side of that is just like, you know, reaching out to like your heroes in a sense, or people that, you know, have influenced your music. Like definitely like Wu-Tang as a thing from the beginning has always been a big influence on our sound. Even just how it's like, you know, tapping into old soul, and it's just real dusty and has this New York organic feel. You know, I think we're always like a little bit in the back of our mind, like, oh, this got to be a little Wu-Tang or something like that, you know, when we're
Yes.
making a record, to even, you know, the record Home is produced by Black Milk. And that's like the one record on the album where it's like another producer, like totally like, you know, they sent a beat over and we're like, oh, we love this. Let's do something with this. And even that beat, he might have sent like a while ago. So sometimes people send you beats, you know, and you might not get to it right away, but definitely remember those ones that you might have been feeling at the time, because it could always turn into something later. But, you know, for me, he's a big hero of mine. You know, he comes from Detroit and he's from that family of Dilla and, you know, Kareem Riggums and like just all, you know, just that sound. So, you know, it was definitely really cool. And then like, even like, you know, to even get to collab with him on the beat a little bit, you know, we like redid the sample together and just like, you know, him sending stems and then me being able to like mix them a little bit. That was just like, you know, such an awesome experience. So much fun to like kind of like, you know, just reminds me of back in the days when I was just, you know, listening to the music and learning from it, to be now able to like, you know, work with it too is so cool. So, you know, yeah, just those things, collaborating and just like, you know, shooting your shot for someone you would love to work with, but also just other people, you know, who you met before, who you vibe with, is always great to tap into.
Totally. Let's see. Anything
What else?
else? What else?
Trying to think if there's any.
Yeah, I mean,
last
I mean,
tidbits.
just riffing off of that a little bit more when it comes to community, you know, that was just another thing, was like, it just felt that people at the time during the pandemic, but obviously just moving forward where we are, like, you know, it's really beneficial when you can lean into your group of friends, like, you know, everyone has a blood family, which obviously we're very fortunate to have our immediate family very supportive of us, and we can always lean on them for things. But we've also cultivated, you know, our artistic family and our friends' family, and those people happen to be amazing creatives. So, you know, whether it comes down to like when we knew we wanted to do kind of like a warm-up shoot of like, what's the feel, what's the mood of the album, you know, I called up a friend from college who shot the photos, and then we loved some of the photos, and then we sent them over to a visual artist who Lucas has been a longtime friend with, Ivan Ford, who ended up doing our cover art. And, you know, just having a community of really strong creatives just makes everything that much more special too. So, you know, it's always like you hear things in different ways, like, oh, you know, when you're rising, like, don't bring your friends with you, or bring your friends with you, or don't work with your friends. And, you know, all just so many different things of advice. And, you know, I think you find your way with that. But I definitely would encourage people to, like, you know, if something naturally feels right, and you dig someone's work and you are friends with them, and, you know, you already have a beautiful relationship, and there's respect there, and there's hustle there and drive, similar to Lucas and I mean, then that's something that you can feel safe taking that step, you know. And I think if it doesn't end up panning out for the long run, it's still going to be something worth your while. And it's also just something that I think it's a nice thing to know that you have people that, everyone's helping each other out, everyone's growing, everyone's giving each other doors to open, and lanes and ways of getting exposed and this and that. So, you know, that was super exciting about this album, is just being able to like have our tribe involved and have like a friend we've loved for so long do our amazing album cover, you know.
Check that.
Yeah, it's really, and that's actually me doing the art.
Jill here. Yeah.
So,
Center.
You know, just like combining all of that, it just makes it extra special. So just, yeah, like always honor your tribe and like represent them the best you can, because it'll be more fun with that usually.
Totally.
And put yourself out there. And what else? Any other last moments of wisdom?
It seems that he wanted to see if we could do some audio production process real quick. As far as that, I think you know, how we make the songs, or the production, or write the songs, or start. I think it's always kind of this vibe of just jamming, capturing a moment, capturing some magic. You know, whether it's I made you know, I usually have some sort of loop or beat or chords or some musical vibe going on, and Jill will be over here in the room, and like, you know, we'll just have the mic going, and you know, she starts singing something, and it's like, oh wow, you know, let's start recording like the caption. We kind of just let it loop for like, I don't know, 20 minutes, however long it is, still a thing, and then maybe within that freestyle she's doing, we capture, like, we're like, oh, that sounds like that could be a chorus, or that's a cool concept, or that could be the title of the song, or just something to kind of a theme to lead the way. And then from there we kind of just we like chop that up, you know, we arrange it into a song, even if it's just a bunch of melodies that don't necessarily have words yet, or maybe some of them do have words, and you're like, oh, you know, that could be the chorus or something like that. And then kind of like then go back from there and like fill in the blanks. You know, the beats are pretty much like what they are in the first 10 minutes of making them. Like, you know what I mean? If it's like the moment you have the music or the sample or whatever, you know, that is the chord progression with a melody and some drums on it, that's pretty much the beat. So, you know, that, I think today making beat, especially with all the technology and all the DAWs and whatnot, and things like, you know, all the great sounding samples out there that are already made for you, like, you know, after freaking with them a little bit, like you can make beats quick, like in 10-15 minutes, and that's the vibe. And then from there, of course, turning it into a record is a whole other thing, or a full-on song, as far as arranging it and then adding accents and drops and things to give it dynamic, you know. And that's all just through kind of like, you know, you can learn about all that on whatever, YouTube, or just listening to what other people do and checking out other people's, how they structure their records, or how they do their builds, or what tends to happen right before the chorus or right when the chorus hits. And, you know, but really the real meat of it is that, and then getting the song together, you know, when Jill has to do her thing, that's what all like kind of all that just really sets the tone for her so she can catch a vibe and be inspired. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, of course we trade back ideas of, oh, she might say one thing like, oh, I really like that word you said, maybe like say it again, or say it like this. And then that's it. You know, we're pretty much, as far as if you really want to get technical into it, we're pretty much all in the box. You know, we'll use live instruments sometimes and have other musicians come through, especially like maybe replaying samples or something like that, or we want to get some flute or horns on it. But you really don't need much. You know, a lot of it just starts with this thing here, this laptop, and just, you know, dragging some things in or chopping something up or making a little program sign with some keys, and that's it. Everything else is kind of just an extra fun thing to have if you want, you know, all the synths or whatever, more software or whatever. But, you know, it's really just about, again, like pulling something from here, as cliche as that might sound, but it's really true, because that's what the listeners want to hear. They want to hear something that makes them like, oh, I love it when you say those 3 words or 4 words, whatever it is that the song is based around. So, you know, it's kind of it, I would say. And
would you say, like, during this, because I noticed this from you, but I feel like as we've grown, you were very conscious about particular sounds you wanted to use for this album? Like,
yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, you know, definitely most of the sounds on this album compared to like you were saying before, other albums, like especially our first album, where it's like a lot of different types of sounds, like, you know, half the records.
It was how it began. Okay?
We were just beginning. Half the sounds are like, you know, really soulful and based off these soul samples, which is always like, I feel like our root, you know what I mean? Like tapping into like 90s hip hop and all the roots of 90s hip hop, all the stuff they were tapping into. And then, you know, at the time we were in London, so we were getting introduced to all this kind of maybe some things more dancey in tempo or more synth based. And I think we love all that stuff. But then I think we kind of realized, like, even listening back to our own project, we're like, oh, you know, this almost could have been like 2 projects, you know what I mean? So it's like, maybe it should be, and it'd be nice to have like something that was like this one in particular has mostly like traditional instruments, even if it's like the sound is coming from the computer or something. It's like piano or organ or guitar and bass, and then, you know, an 808 under it or something, but it's not really many synths on the album. It's not really, you know, I guess that's kind of it, you know. It's like, because we were tapping into more like, again, like wanting to pull from the 70s and probably like the instruments they were using then. And then, you know, we have a whole bunch of other songs so that have synths and stuff on them that, you know, that'll probably just be its own other project. But I think, yeah, just keeping it unified. I think also we kind of just like, after a while, when you're like figuring out your sound and like further development, you can kind of look back on your catalog and you're like, oh, like I noticed like we did this with this record, or listening back, this record makes me feel this. And you might pick up on certain similarities in the sonics of them. Like, oh, all those records had these like a Rhodes on it, or they're all were in the key of like E flat minor or B flat minor. You're like, oh, I didn't ever even meant to do that, but naturally just happened. And that's kind of like studying yourself and deciphering maybe your own formulas that you don't have to always follow by any means. But if you're ever in the like thing where it's like I don't really know where to go with it, I think those patterns and formulas are like such a useful tool to like direct you of like how to finish the song, which is always
Totally
the most important thing is finishing.
Yes, I mean, process is pretty much all of this, but definitely, I think that's what sets people apart is the people that are willing to put the time in to finish whatever they want to finish and fully flesh out an idea, and it can be really hard to do that. And you can like kind of, or you can second guess yourself and do something and then be like, no, I'm never putting that out or this and that. But, if you're doing that, that's totally fine. But definitely just like, challenge yourself to take the risk to finish something and just see how that feels. Because I think you'll most likely regret not doing something than at least trying it,
Totally. You can make infinite music, so there's no reason not to. So try everything, I would say. But then, you can, it doesn't mean you have to put everything out. Like those like trials and error, I think it's never wasted time because it just helps you learn more about yourself and what you actually want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think that's it for us, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
we hope you enjoyed this talk.
Yes, we are Lion Babe.
We are Lion Babe.
Our
again.
new album, Rainbow Child, is out now. We got, you can stream that on everything. We got new merch up on our site, shop.lionbabe.com.
We have new videos coming, a couple of shows. You can also just check us out on IG or Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. I'll get to you. And yeah, just thank you for checking in, and hopefully you guys learned some stuff. And if you're into this, we can do more of this chit chat. But yeah, sending you guys all of the good energy and vibes you need to create everything that you guys are doing, and just keep going for it. And it's a long road, but it's a beautiful road. So just one foot in front of the other every day, and you'll get somewhere and enjoy it and smile. Yeah. So thank you so much. And we'll see you out there.
Peace.
This next panel is all about artist development. We're asking a very important question. How can you make your career thrive? With us are 3 of ONErpm's A&Rs from our LA office.
Awesome. We are live. We're on different sides of the screen now.
Yeah.
Anyways, hello everyone. My name is Brian Maroney. I work as an A&R in the LA office of ONErpm.
And I'm Joseph Falgalemi. Also work in the LA office at ONErpm. We're here today to talk about artist development and what we think it's important to do to start growing your career and to get from the artist that you are today to the artist that you want to be in the future.
Yeah, and we both come from, I guess, different paths, but very kind of similar experiences. I came from the artist side for the past 7 years. I've been in a band called Airways that now works with ONErpm as well. I got to see kind of all the way from being a very DIY artist to, you know, an artist that was touring the world and, you know, is still touring internationally. I think there's a lot of stuff to that that's constantly changing, you know, especially since I've been working here for the last 3 years. I mean, every year there's a different thing you should be doing or a new way to be marketing your music. And I think as an artist alone, it's really, really hard to kind of stay on top of those things and make sure you're changing with the time. And I think, you know, that was one of the struggles that I always had as an artist, was trying to figure out, you know, where should I be putting my time? You know, the focus should always be at the music, but once you have the music, like, you know, how should I market this? Like, if I get it on a playlist, am I automatically going to be selling more tickets, or, you know, what's next? And I think, you know, that's something over the past few years that I think, you know, we've really been trying to provide to artists, is just kind of that strategy and, you know, just a little bit more, you know, idea flow to like, let's, you know, try new things and see what's working.
And, you know, my background started as an artist manager, went on to A&R in the major label system for years, you know, learned a lot, saw the good, the bad, and the ugly, but happy to be here at ONErpm, a place where we can help artists of all sizes and shapes, you know, grow and develop. You know, I think that we both agree that the most important thing is the music. That's where it starts and that's where it ends. You know, I think that, you know, the ability to make music is easier than it's ever been before. You know, what do you think is the best thing an artist can be doing to start kind of honing their chops and becoming a better songwriter?
I mean, I think, you know, I think it's the same as it always has been. And a lot of songwriters that I've talked to, and, you know, what people used to tell me, it's just like, you should be writing a song every day. And like, even if it's not great, like, I think the biggest problem that I've noticed a lot of writers and artists have is finishing things. Like,
absolutely,
you know, it's really easy to like write a verse or a chorus, but like, so many artists run into that issue of just never finishing songs and never putting them out. And like, I think a lot of the artists, producers, writers that I know that make it a point to have a finished product at the end of every day, even if they know they're going to go back to it or whatever, it just is so much kind of easier for them to kind of have this library of things where like, yeah, maybe 15 of them suck, but then, you know, because they've been so, you know, consistent every day trying new things, you know, it's important to do that. And I think it's very hard to know if you have your best song if you're only writing one song and then just putting it out and then writing one song, you know.
The most important thing is just to be doing it, and to be doing it consistently, and to be doing it regularly. You know, I think that in everything that we're going to be talking about in artist development, it's all about putting in your 10,000 hours and really perfecting your craft. I think that, you know, so many artists, it's so easy to get so excited about the song that you wrote yesterday and spend the next 6 months, you know, tweaking the master. I think, you know, what's the saying, good is the enemy of great. You know, sometimes I think that A, you need to be working every single day. B, you need to be challenging yourself and trying to do new things and be better and push into different areas or really perfect things. But also you need to know when to stop, when good is good enough. And
there's a happy balance between it.
Exactly.
I think I mean, I think with, you know, that side of things, it is important, you know, at first to spend, you know, a little bit of time really figuring out who you are as an artist before just, you know, releasing. But, you know, like you're saying, it's like, you know, after so long, I know too many artists who are like, I don't think it's ready yet, I'm just gonna wait, and then they don't end up releasing for 2 years or whatever. And it's like, you know, now with the way things are, and like, you know, I think that was a good strategy when it costed $20,000 to go make a recording. Like, you want to make sure you are so right on top of every dollar you're spending. But nowadays, where you have the ability, and I think, you know, going into that as well, I think every artist now should try and learn how to demo and record themselves, because there's so many tools and resources. And I mean, that goes all into the 10,000 hours side of things. But like, once you get to that point of being happy with it, I mean, you're never going to be like, this is the perfect. I think a lot of people, you know, don't know, like you're saying, that they can't be confident with okay, this is how I'm going to start. But I think if you can really figure that out and figure out, you know, what that kind of initial 6 to 12 months is as an artist.
So if I
then,
had my first
you know,
song, Brian, if I had my first song that I was happy with and I thought I was ready to put it out, what are the next steps that I should do
I
in
would
your
say
mind?
write a few more first, just in case,
I
like,
agree.
because like the worst thing is like you don't. I mean, if what if it is amazing and it blows up and then you know you have nothing and it's just like, and then maybe you figure out, oh, like that song was cool, but that's not the type of artist I want to be. So I think like obviously that, and even going into like the writing part, I think just as much, you know, of playing your instrument and playing live and like being able to sing, like having, you know, that craft kind of sorted before you just start releasing
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
always going to be important. Like, not to say you have to be the best person at your craft, you just need to know who you want to be at guitar, who you want to be as a singer.
Exactly.
So
it's like
I
the
think
analogy
that's
that,
important.
you know, the analogy that I often use is, you know, a company like ONErpm or a label or anything like that is like an amplifier, is like a PA system. And the artist is, of course, the artist. And if they're not literally well rehearsed, I mean, we're talking both from like a marketing angle and also as the live show. Like you need to know who you are. You need to know what you want to say. That all need as an artist. And you know, working with somebody like us, we can amplify what you're doing. We can help bring, you know, more visibility and opportunities. But if you don't know who you are and what you want to say, and you're honestly not rehearsed in your whole career from recording to performing, you know, we can make it loud, but it's just going to be noise. You need to know who you are and what you want to say. And then, of course, you know, then we can come and help amplify that. But I think, you know, all the greatest artists in the world have a vision for their music, for their brand, for how they want to communicate with their fans, for the kind of stories that they want to share. You know, I mean, an artist is, you know, taking everything that's happened in their entire lives and putting it into song form to share with us. You know, so that's, you know, everybody's story is going to be unique. And I think that everybody's stories, you know, need to be heard. So I think knowing what you want to say, because there's a lot of stuff being said out there. So, you know, make sure that you're telling your story in a concise way and have those handful of songs. And then let's say I do have those handful of songs that I really like. Do you think next I need to be working in, you know, starting to think about my Instagram, things like that, thinking about how I want to present myself to fans? What do you think are the next steps?
Yeah, I think, you know, to echo a little bit too on what you're saying, like I feel like I'm saying like you need to know what you want to say before you release your first song. But I think a lot of the times like you might know, but then it's gonna change. And like, you know, don't be afraid of that as an artist. Like your voice is always gonna change and you know, you're gonna figure out as you're going. But I think, you know, it's very important to kind of at least have some sort of direction before. And then, you know, once you get to that point of having a few songs, I do think the biggest mistake we see a lot of the times is people just thinking that spending money is going to do the thing, you know. And I think a lot of the biggest successes we've seen, especially from DIY artists and new artists, have been from the people who spend zero money and really focus on that organic strategy, whether it's, you know, honing in on the Instagram and TikTok side of things, really, you know, focusing on building amazing content for YouTube, you know, making sure that what's happening on socials or what's building is, you know, direct with the fans and, you know, really building a community. I think until you really have all those things and really start to build all of those things, there's literally no point
money's not going to fix those problems.
And I mean, like, we see artists make their videos by themselves, record themselves, like, and I know everyone can't do everything, but I think as much as you can do by yourself, you should do, you know, at the beginning.
And it's really, you know, and I think that, you know, growing in an audience really starts by growing like a community. You know what I mean? Like if you can't do the videos and things, find somebody that can help you and kind of build your little creative core. And then, you know, audience development is the same thing today that it's been for the last, you know, 50, 60 years. We're just using different mediums. You know, back in the day, you used to go stand outside of a show and pass out flyers, and you know, and hopefully two of those people would choose to go online and check you out, or even before that, go to a show and check you out. Nowadays,
still think artists should do that.
I still think they should, but I mean, in the COVID world, there were no shows for the last
Yeah.
year. And and you need to be making fans every single day. And even if you're making 2 fans a day, those 2 fans become 4 fans, becomes 8 fans. And then it's all about helping your fans work for you as well, helping them understand who you are, giving them content to share, giving them objectives to help kind of get involved. On digitally, you can find 2 fans a day, and then those 2 fans can help you find 2 more every single day. And if you're not putting in the work to find those fans, to know what your fans look like, figure out where on the internet they live, and how to get your music in front of them for free, paying money for it's never going to fix anything.
You're not even just paying money, but like, everyone thinks they need the playlist right away. Everyone thinks they need playlists and this and that. But until you have that real thing for a fan to attach themselves to, none of that is going to do anything, other than maybe give you some passive income or whatever. But, if you look at all of the biggest artists now, it all started with that core fan base and those people, waiting outside after the shows, for hopefully getting a picture. And it's like, that starts with one person, builds to 2, just like what you're saying. And I think COVID was definitely a testament to that, where like, a lot of artists, touring was their only, real marketing driver, where, a lot of artists that didn't know how to work the digital world. And honestly, before COVID, there wasn't really, there was TikTok, but it wasn't really
it was so different,
what it is. And, not to say like TikTok is the god now, but it kind of, in the marketing world, it is right now. And not just TikTok, but all these short form content, strategy things. And I think for a while there was a lot of hesitance from artists because it wasn't it was very influencer heavy. It was, that was the focus and thought.
I'm not going to do the Doja Cat dance.
Exactly.
I'm a 30-year-old artist or whatever.
I understood that. And then we started seeing it. Even like it took us seeing it happen to artists to be like, oh, wow, there's 70,000 people interacting to this like punk rock song or like this indie song. And like it started to kind of even make us realize like, oh, this is just a massive, audience platform that has a really good algorithm that is free to use, and
they're open to discovering new music, most importantly.
Exactly. And it's like translated more than anything. So a lot of our strategy, 2 years ago, our strategy was different than it is now. I might have been, a little bit more focused on Instagram ads or stuff like that 2 years ago, but now it's focusing on content and strategy. And I'm sure next year and 2 years from now, it's going to be different. So it's really about, always being on top of, what's happening no matter what. And I think
exactly. And I think that, the big difference to exactly what you're saying is now we're seeing, the difference between Instagram ads and content is you're helping somebody fall in love with you, not just like a song. Instagram is like the mall nowadays. There's people selling stuff on every single corner. Whereas with, some of these other short form content platforms, you're able to really present who you are as an individual, who you are as an artist. They can get a vibe and understanding, and they're getting involved and invested in you as an artist and in your career from one video. And then we see that trickle down to, following the account, liking a bunch of the other videos on their channels, going and streaming, going off platform to listen to their music on Apple Music and on Spotify or whatever, and following them on Instagram or across different platforms and everything. So I think it's so important for artists to be consistent with their content and figure out who they are, what they want to say, and always putting themselves, out there so they have the opportunity to connect. Because if you never try, you're never going to be eligible for the opportunity for this big viral moment or whatever it is.
I think that's the biggest issue. Like everyone thinks that like, oh, I tried, or like, oh, I did a few posts. And
it's not about the viral moment.
Didn't do anything, and it's like, it's 2 fans at a time, like you said.
Exactly.
And like I see it all the time where I'll look, someone will say to me like, oh, like I'm posting on TikTok, but it's not really doing anything. And then I go look at their posts and I'm like, dude, you had 2 or 3 different people comment on every post that they discovered your music and are listening now. Like that's something to be positive about. And I think
Absolutely.
so many people are looking for that big moment that they don't appreciate the, you know, gradual kind of gains along the way, where it's like, you don't know what that one person could turn into. It could turn into $1,000 of merch just from that one person over the next 10 years or whatever. And, you know, I think the artists that really focus on, okay, finding those people and making sure they know that they're a part of this community, you know, that they can, you know, attach themselves to. I think it's so important. And like, you know, not to say we don't see plenty of successful artists that are just more for the mood and the lifestyle and the music, and like that don't have as much of the branding and that side down. But I think, you know, that's obviously a little bit of a different world, and going into, you know, different genres, and really kind of depends, you know, where you're trying to build. But I do think that there, you know, even if there's, you know, certain genres where maybe there isn't a branding or content strategy, that's even more of a reason for you as an artist to try and find a branding or content strategy within your genre, because, you know, there's probably untapped audiences that aren't on TikTok, as, you know, if you're in a metal band, or, you know, we're seeing a lot of metal bands on TikTok, so that's maybe not the best example, but like, you know, I think if you're not seeing, you know, piano stuff on TikTok and you're a piano player, then you should go start playing piano on TikTok, because there's probably millions of people that, you know, are waiting for it.
And exactly. And the thing is, I think that, you know, across all socials, there's a, you know, you can be what you want to be. It's not like there's one mold where you have to fit into this little box. I mean, whether you can still be mysterious and enigmatic, or you can be very present and, you know, very personal. You can be super artistic and creative. You can be very just like, hey, here's my song. You know, there's no right or wrong way. I think it's all about experimenting and finding what's true to yourself as an artist.
Yeah. No, I think that is key. I don't know. I feel like I need to ask you a question. I mean, I think, you know, in terms of development, obviously we've been talking a lot about the early stages, but, you know, a lot of the artists we work with are, you know, already have a little bit of an audience or touring. For artists in that, you know, world where they kind of already have something, what do you think the most important thing, you know, to do is after you know, have that kind of core fan base?
Sure. I think there's a couple things. I think number one, you know, we live in such a digital world and things are moving so fast. You know, people are putting out music more than ever before. There is no album cycle anymore, you know, really, where it's like you would be on cycle for a year and off cycle for a year. Everybody's always on. So that means that you have to be consistently making music and consistently being consistent. You know, like that's why Drake is the biggest artist in the world, because Drake rarely misses. His batting average is so high, and that means he's in the studio all the time. He's working to make the best music that he can all the time. And further than that, you know, the next steps of development are number one, making sure that you're making as much great music as you can all the time, and challenging yourself, you know, whether that's, you know, studying the greats, like studying like the Beatles songwriting, studying like Leonard Cohen's lyrics, studying, you know, somebody like Tupac or somebody like that, who are just, or, you know, like Jay-Z, just the greats in the game, and getting better at your own craft. It's a job and it's work, and it's not always going to be easy, and growth is challenging. So you're going to have to be challenging yourself in all these areas creatively. And then number two is how are you cultivating your fan audience on a deeper level? What are you doing to give them exclusive things? What are you doing to really build that lifelong connection? You know, like we always talk about, sure, we want, you know, the big super smash, you know, summer hit that everybody knows. But just as important is like that lyric that everybody gets tattooed on their arm because it's so emotional and it like kind of changed their life or helped them get through something. Like those are the connections that we really care about. You know, a summer smash can be like, yeah, the soundtrack for your trip to Vegas or to Mexico or whatever, and maybe you have fun and you remember, you know, riding the jet ski to that LMFAO song or whatever. But really, you know, the songs that change your lives are the ones that like got you through the breakup, helped you pick yourself back up in that hard time, or was motivational or whatever, like those, I think, you know, working on your audience development and the depth and the strength of your connection with your fans is something that you can be doing all the time. And again, it's something where like a lifer, career fan artist, or, you know, fan artist connection is never going to go anywhere. They're going to be buying everything that you put out. They're going to be at every single show, showing up early, staying late, you know, picking up any exclusive thing that you drop. And you know, you can't just get that. You have to start that from the very beginning of your career. And then thirdly, the most important, you know, what ends up being one of the most important things, and something that we're seeing right now is being overlooked, is the live show. You know, with such a digital world, and looking at, you know, all the festivals right now that are happening with artists who've never played a show before, but now have these massive audiences and huge hit songs, but have literally never stepped a foot on the stage. You know, that's a huge part of artist development, is being good live, because people want to see it live. And, you know, hopefully that's what you're going to be doing for the rest of your career. So I think, you know, like
how it works.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just saying, I think it's funny how it works both ways, because like it feels to me like a lot of the like really great live artists really don't understand the digital world, you know, or like everyone in that world is trying to get into the digital world, whereas, you know, now the digital people have to try and get in the live world. So you want to try and sit right in between.
You have to be doing all of it all the time. And that's why, like, you know, like what we talk about all the time is for an artist to imagine, you know, the show at your hometown arena, wherever you live. Like if you live in New York, like think about sitting down at MSG and watching yourself perform. What does that show look like? You know, does it start with you sitting down and starting the set on a piano? Well, can you play piano? If you can't play piano, you should start learning how you can actualize all these dreams. It's really thinking about what do you want to do, where do you want to go, and making sure that you're doing everything to embody the artist that you want to become. So if you're ripping a solo on stage at the Super Bowl in your dreams, then start practicing guitar. You know, if you imagine, you know, whatever these things that you want to achieve, make sure that you are putting in the work every single day to get there, because it's not magically going to happen, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't. I think that is very key. It's like you really need to have those outlandish dreams and goals, because I feel like those are what really drive you to build the 10 to 20 year plan. I mean, you know, I hate to use School of Rock as an example, but you know, that's a perfect example of like, you know, like Jack Black sitting all these guys down, like watching the greats, learning every piece of it, learning how to play live. Like you need to know that, you need to do that, you need to be constantly a part of, you know, what's happening. And I just think, it's really important to know, because I think so many people, it's like, okay, I've got a few songs, but they don't really have that, you know, kind of outlook of, well, I know I'm going to be here in 20 years or whatever. And I think, you know, it's always going to change, but it's very important to have those goals and just, you know, kind of build your plan based off of them.
Exactly. And I mean, look at somebody like John Mayer, who's, you know, 20 years into his career and still pushing himself with songwriting, and still, you know, and look at, like, you know, the Rolling Stones, you know, R.I.P. Charlie, and 60 years into their career, they're still touring, still putting on a great show, and still, again, feeding their core audience and the masses, you know, at whole. Like, they know that people want to see one of the greatest rock bands ever, so they're going to go out and give it to them. And consistently pushing the envelope on the road too, because they've done it. They've been playing stadiums for 30 years, 40 years. So like, how do you continue to evolve and push the envelope there?
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's, the thing is, I feel like it is constantly changing, but there's certain things that always seem to mirror each other. And I feel like, you know, following kind of the path of previous artists and seeing, you know, learning from kind of their experiences is always going to be one of the best ways to kind of figure out what you should be doing as an artist, and, you know, figure out who you want to be as an artist. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is there any final tidbits we should go into?
If there's anything that you think an artist should not do,
just stop spending money. We already went into that. I'm trying to think, like, outside of, It's really dependent on the artist. You know what I mean? I feel like it kind of comes down to like the genre and the artist. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like you shouldn't. I think what I see happen still, and I remember seeing it happen.
I think I have a good one.
I was just gonna say, like, people who like are trying to chase like what's happening now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can go sound like some other, you should just try and sound like yourself. I think that's the biggest, thing. And a lot of people really try and tap onto that.
How do you think you try to find your own sound?
First of all, don't work with the same producer as everyone else. It's hard. I think you're always going to have songs that aren't necessarily, there's going to always be those influences and sounds and everything. But I do think like people that learn how to produce themselves, even if you don't fully produce yourself, like if you can write a demo by yourself and like get what's in your head onto the computer or whatever, I do think that is the most organic, way still. And especially when maybe you don't have the money for like this crazy producer who is gonna, think about you and, really create this unique sound for you. A lot of the stuff we see come through our system is like self-produced, and it is special because it doesn't sound like anything else, because this person has literally never produced for another artist. And I think that's important.
What's a better use of my time as a DIY artist? Writing more songs or DMing strangers on Instagram? Industry strangers.
Definitely. Oh, industry strangers? Yeah, don't do that. But I think but like the DMing part of it, I think you bring up a good point on the fan side, where it's like not saying go DM much people, but like I still think like some of the old school, marketing ways of like you need to be reactive with every person that comments on your photos, but also if someone posts about your music on their Instagram, you need to go react with people on their finding just any way. People are still making Facebook groups, going on Reddit, like there's so many platforms that aren't just TikTok or aren't just, Instagram, where it's like, getting emails when you're doing shows, and like everything still matters. I think, we definitely saw a big increase in the use of Discord and texting and all of that during COVID, but I think it's something that, everyone should be doing all the time.
100%.
Awesome.
Well, I think that was great. Thanks everybody for listening. Again, this is Joseph.
Thanks for joining.
And Brian from the LA team.
Signing out.
Signing off.
Next, we're coming to you from our ONErpm studios in Nashville to bring you another very exciting artist showcase. Enjoy.
Ours is a Carolina story. It rings clearer than a bell. It's got all that pain and glory. It's my favorite one to tell. I knew right from the beginning it would stand the test of time. I ain't worried about
shine. Caroline, I know every line. Caroline, I can't believe you're mine. I tell you all the time. Let's just keep the pages turning. We'll go down in history. Always keep the fire burning. It's Carolina, you and me. Caroline, I know every line. Caroline, I can't believe you're mine. I tell you all the time. I can't believe you're mine. I can't believe you're mine.
Do you suppose that I could just disappear? We've got to get a little light in here. You and I will be okay. Oh, giving all to the flame. Some of our loss is the best in trying. Give a little up or let it. Some of it is, but I'm realizing everybody loses a part worth letting go. Still the boat's not crystal clear, but it fades into the air. I will be what I say. Whoa, as my body melts away. Some of our loss is the best in trying. Give a little up or let it. Some of it is, but I'm realizing everybody loses a part worth letting go. Lately I've been burned much too slow. I know the color in your eyes as they start to dull. Before you get too cold, I'll burn down, 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 down.
I can still taste the salt on your lips. The lime takes me back to your kiss. Calling a cab to take us home. Up the stairs at 34 and West, telling you to unzip my dress, but now I unzip it on my own. You made me think that I was wrong for even having doubts at all. Yeah, my glass was half empty. Yeah, you took a sip and left me. I always knew I'd lose. Don't care if you're with someone new, doing the things we used to do. But I can't get you out of my mind when I see those neon signs and a shot with lime. 'Cause you ruined tequila for me. Ruin tequila for me. Ruin. I don't miss the smell of your cologne. Don't miss your name lighting up my phone. Not even looking for someone else. 'Cause you made me think that I was wrong for even having doubts at all. Yeah, my glass was half empty. Yeah, you took a sip and left me. I always knew I'd lose. Don't care if you're with someone new, doing the things we used to do. But I can't get you out of my mind when I see those neon signs and a shot with lime. 'Cause you ruined tequila for me. Ruin tequila for me. Ruin tequila for me. I always knew I'd lose. Don't care if you're with someone new, doing the things we used to do. It doesn't faze me. I always knew I'd lose. Don't care if you're with someone new, doing the things we used to do. But I can't get you out of my mind when I see those neon signs and a shot with lime. 'Cause you ruined tequila for me. Ruin tequila for me. Ruin tequila for me. Ruin tequila for me. 'Cause you ruined tequila for me.
What's going on, everybody? Next, we're going to be speaking about social media, influencer marketing, and collecting data, featuring members of our direct-to-fan teams from the US, Mexico, and Brazil.
Thanks for tuning in to ONErpm Academy. And today we're talking about making music social with some of our global team in the direct-to-fan space. So we've got Will Sword, which is me. I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia. We've got Will Cubero, who's in our New York City office, Gustavo down in Brazil, and Hani in Mexico. And today we're gonna dive into a little bit about the future of social media and how we approach direct-to-fan here at ONErpm. And maybe if each of you guys wanted to introduce yourselves a little bit and give a little background on what you do here at ONErpm.
Sure. All right, I'll kick it off. I'm Will Cubero. Obviously, I'm a direct-to-fan coordinator. I do a lot of specializing in influencer marketing, reaching out to influencers and getting activations for our artists' songs has been a big focus of mine over the last 6 months to a year. Gustavo, you want to go and tell a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hello, so I'm Gustavo Diniz. I'm marketing coordinator in direct-to-fan, in charge of social management here in Brazil, and we're building strategies to increase the releasing and the post-releasing creations and audience achievement with the songs.
Hey, I'm Jaime, and I'm also on the DTF department here in Mexico, and basically like trying to catch all the trends of music consumption that come from TikTok and Instagram, and trying to fit them on the strategies that we do for artists so they can take advantage of them.
That's awesome. And yeah, as Hani's saying, these trends, kind of the way that music moves our culture is a big part of the reason that ONErpm focuses so much on social media and on what we call direct-to-fan marketing and direct-to-fan monetization. And I think a big thing that some folks might not be as aware of in the modern era is people maybe think about social media the way it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and you think of social media as being a place where things happen, but then you have to go somewhere else to engage with the music in a way that's monetized or something like that. But here at ONErpm, we don't see that as being the case. We, because we're a global organization, we're always watching both the trends of music itself, but also the trends of the music industry. And one thing we've noticed in recent years is these days, our artists are getting paid nearly as much from Facebook as they are from sites like, Apple Music or some, a DSP that maybe they're not strongest on. So maybe Spotify is where they're making the most money, and then Apple Music, YouTube, and then Facebook, and then a lot of other ones much farther down. And so we think in the coming years that's the direction the music industry is going towards, is that these trends where people are engaging with the song on TikTok or on Instagram are gradually turning TikTok and Instagram and Facebook into DSPs, just like Spotify, just like YouTube. And since ONErpm got its start as a YouTube multi-channel network, and we have always focused on that platform in a big way, we're looking at Facebook and at TikTok and at these other sites like Triller and stuff as being the next iteration of that. Just where the music industry is naturally going is that those platforms where you can socially interact with your favorite artist and with their music are becoming more and more valuable. And we want all the members of our ONErpm fam worldwide to be taking advantage of that and to be leaning into that. And so that's kind of what we're hoping to talk to you guys about today. And we figured, we'd start with that kind of overlay and talk a little bit about just, why social media is so important. It's obviously how you reach your fans, but it's also how your fans reach you. And it's a vital place, whatever platform it is that you're going to focus on. It's vital that we have artists that are active, that are regularly posting, trying to post on your Instagram feed every day or two, trying to get a couple TikToks up a week if you can, and trying to keep those active, because as long as you're producing and putting yourself out there, it opens up the opportunity that new artists, new communities, new fans might find you. And I think we could jump off of that to talk about some social media best practices, which is something Gustavo knows a lot about.
Yeah, so that's what you said, Will. It's really important for the artist to keep posting and to create content, like with his music video or hers. I mean, what we always say to each of our artists and to everyone who asks, everything is content. We have TikTok, we have Thriller, we have we have Quai, we have Instagram, Facebook, we have YouTube, we have many options of social media, and we can use all of them. Everything is content. So at first sight, we've got like Snapchat creating the type of video which disappears over one day, and then Instagram stories came, and now you can share parts of your day. And why not with your music? Why not like little pieces of your music videos? And what we always say, what we mean when we tell everything is content, is that we work with that. We're inside the process. So the artist, the producer, the beat maker, the singer, we're all inside the process. So we're used to it's something common. But for the fan, it's something so special to see how's the music written, how's the music recorded, how's the making of process of the video clip, some like for bands, some playtime, some funny times, and like bloopers, everything is content, and it makes your social media so more complete. So we encourage artists to create content with everything, and we encourage artists to analyze the analytics from each platform, or to search for information in each platform, because everything can be read and can be tested. We all live in a big test, so okay, I'm gonna use 10 hashtags, and okay, if it didn't work, why not try again in different ways, and understand what is the audience that you talk with in each platform. I mean, here in Brazil, we have TikTok. TikTok is for like teenagers, and most of the times people in TikTok are not older than 25-year-old, but in Instagram, we have from 20 years old people until 35, 40. And then Facebook, 35 plus, So which type of content are you creating for them? How can you engage with them? On YouTube, you can post everything in a complete way, if I have a making of my video clip, if I have like the creation process, the recording process, I can post it completely on YouTube. But the funny parts, why not on TikTok? The something curious, why not on Instagram? And always encouraging people to use the music sticker, the official music on the library, because one of the most important best practices, it became one of the most important best practices we have, is using the official music, because it's, how you said, a way for you to monetize your content. So when Instagram came with monetization, and Facebook too, and then TikTok and Thriller and all the apps, we have revenue being generated. So when we post with our official songs, with our official music from the library of the platform, you're not only like creating a consistent work of posting with your song to achieve more audience, you're generating revenue, you know.
I think that's a really good point to note, is that for any artist distributing music through ONErpm, their music automatically is in Facebook's audio library. It's in TikTok's audio library. Any song off any album you've ever distributed through us. And so you can always go back and look through all the older stuff that you've released, and you can make videos using it. You can, and in the same way, if you, as Gustavo was saying, as you're sharing your day to day, you're trying to let the fans in behind the scenes a little bit. You can, if you soundtrack what's going on in the studio with a little bit of audio from your last album, it can go a long way. And it can, if it gets a lot of views, if it gets shared, you can monetize, you can see a substantial chunk of change from that. And the other thing to think about is if you're just creating content on your Instagram, if you're making a 1 minute long song on TikTok or something, and you find it's doing well, if that original sound is doing well, you shouldn't hesitate to upload it through your ONErpm dashboard and distribute that as now an official release. Because as Gustavo was saying, everything's content. The stuff you make just for fun at the studio, that can be content on YouTube, and it can go to Spotify if you find that you really like it, and if it catches a hold of people. So like Gustavo was saying, you're always watching your analytics. You hop in the Twitter or TikTok analytics or whatever it is, and you're seeing when your fans are online most, and you're seeing which of your posts, which of your hashtags are most engaging and are getting the farthest reach, and you try to lean into that. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but it's a curiosity I'd like to share with you. There was a pre-save campaign we did with a singer called Bia Marques here in Brazil, and it all started with with something funny to be done. There was this song she was going to launch. It was called Notes, like little things you write for you to remind, or notes.
Yeah.
And then she developed with us an idea of creating a pre-save called Bia Notes, like share with this hashtag Bia Notes,
right,
and using the music sticker after the launch. It was not a pre-save, I'm sorry, it was a save action, like saving after the release. But share some note from yours in your cell phone or in your notebooks, which would be cool, and there were some cool stuff written and shared, and now she's releasing a song with a compilation of these notes,
right?
Which, it was so cool,
Yeah.
And she recorded a little piece of this song try, and it went almost viral. And she was like, "Hey guys, do you think I can like create a song on that? And is it okay for me to release this?" And sure. Like, we got the authorization with all the fans, but man, it was so cool. I think it's gonna be great here.
And it's a great way to bring your fans into the process and ask them to contribute, because it ends up making it more personal for them. They might be in the music video, their note might be in the music video or something, and their what they're going through helps to inspire her work. And so it's a really cool way to use the platform in both directions, both to build up hype for something, but then also to inspire something. And there are loads of other ways to use these platforms. And, beyond just reaching your fans, there's also loads of influencers on these platforms. There's people who have large followings, who may or may not know of your work. And I think it's something that we focus on a lot, is trying to get people with some following, with some engagement on platforms to engage with your work. And I think Will Cubero can talk a little bit more about how we go about doing that.
Absolutely. I mean, I could talk at length about it. It's at the end of the day, it's kind of like a renaissance of influencers. It's definitely a new age that we're living in right now. You know, they've always been around with Instagram and Facebook, but now with TikTok coming around and kind of knocking down doors, there are influencers everywhere. And I've seen influencer campaigns run by Papa John's and by the Washington State football team and by people who have Etsy shops. And there's a reason for that. Everybody uses it because it can be very effective. And at the end of the day, it's just kind of sharing the love. You know, if you're an artist and you have a decent following and there's another artist with a decent following and you guys meet up at a show and you exchange numbers or whatever it is, and you guys can cross promote and cross pollinate your music, that's a great thing. And then, you know, outside of the music space, hiring dancers is a huge thing on TikTok. Having content created for your song. You know, maybe you're not the best dancer yourself, but if someone else can do it for you and do a great job, then, you know, more power to them. It can be beneficial in both ways. And it's definitely something that is here. And I hope it sticks around for a long time because it's an excellent marketing tool for us at Direct to Fan. Because, you know, it's connecting these fan audiences. You have influencer audiences, and then you have the artist audiences, and you can create something together. And it can be a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think, you know, Gustavo's talking about promoting something before a release and getting fan interaction in that way. And I think something that influencer campaigns can work with in that regard is that, you know, you can send out 100 DMs. It takes no time to put together a message, copy, paste it, and send it to a bunch of people whose work you might like. And, you know, if your song, you know, touches on heartbreak or something, we have Gracie Carroll's breakup season recently is one we had. You know, you could reach out to other people that you might have noticed were going through a breakup or something like that. Or if, you know, you're thinking about something, you know, maybe you want to find another way where it connects to something totally different, you know, and you want to touch on one of the metaphors in your song. So you want to reach out to people that are talking about gardening or something like that. Each of these different people will have a different following based on their experience, based on what they're sharing on the app. And, you know, you called it a renaissance, and I think it's a valid thing to think about is that there's, you know, many of these flowers blooming all at once is different authorities. You know, it's no longer just whoever's writing for Rolling Stone magazine is the authority on indie rock anymore. Now there's 100 different influencers and folks that can tell you what the best new track is. And in the same space, you know, Better Homes and Gardens isn't the only place to learn where to do a cool craft or how to tend to your tulips. And so finding a way where your song can touch on some of these other things. And in a lot of cases, smaller accounts, I'm not telling somebody to DM a D'Amelio here. I don't think they will do this, but smaller accounts will absolutely, you know, okay, you want me to make a video using your song about this? Would you make a video using my sound or my song, or would you stitch with mine? Because, you know, in just like the Renaissance, you know, creators can collaborate in a big way. And I think folks need to both think about that, think about how either through influencers or different fan networks, they can reach different verticals and find new exposure through this. But then just also in the long run, how they can build these relationships. Because I think
back to reaching out to people on DMs, having sent thousands of them myself, you'd be surprised how willing a lot of people are to collaborate and how genuinely nice a lot of these creators are. I think that there are a lot of aspects of TikTok, Instagram, Triller, and all of these new apps that are coming that are very creator focused. You know, TikTok comes out with a creator fund, and that's all benefiting creators and giving back to creators. So a lot of these people are more than happy to hear from you and to hear any ideas you might have out.
Yeah, and if you're willing to get over the fear of rejection and just put yourself out there, and if you're willing to maybe hear your song get made fun of a little bit by somebody who who taking it from a totally different angle than you might have put it out. But getting it into these different spaces, that's cross-pollination is really the best way that artists can grow. And it beats the living hell out of standing outside of shows and handing out your demo tape, which is how they had to do it 25 years ago. So, that don't be afraid to shoot your shot on that DM. But then once you've got a release, a big thing that comes up is, how do you keep track of the data? How do you keep track of who your biggest fans are? How do you keep track of, are you building on the work you're doing with each successive release? And that's something Hani knows a great deal about. She knows a lot about how we collect data and how we emphasize that at ONErpm. And maybe, Hani, would you want to share a little bit of some insights with that?
Sure. The way I see it, it's just like you said, like, first you have to find a voice, then you have to find an audience who wants to hear that voice. And then once you have that audience that's already connected with you, you need to learn about that audience, and not also learn about it, like listen to them, know what they are like saying about you, what they want to see from you. I think that it's also really cool, for example, interaction, or like asking questions like openly. I think that's really, really cool way to learn. But there's also like other stuff, like other types of tools that we can use to collect those kind of data. And I also merge with strategy, because I think social media, it's for everything. Like, you are competing with, I don't know, the dog of somebody, or the breakfast of somebody. But I'm pretty sure that people can get interested on dogs, breakfast, and also on music. So it's also really cool that once you have their attention, you take them to the place you want them to go. That's probably YouTube or Spotify or any other platform where they can listen to your music and really engage and then become fans. So, for example, a tool that I really, really like, that it's like really easy to use, and that's actually on our site, it's the pre-saves. But it's a cool tool, but you have to use it right, otherwise it won't work, because it's called like pre-save, and it's about the hype of having music before it comes out. But like, actually it's really easy, because like now I can like go to YouTube at midnight when the release is coming out and listen to it. Like, it's really, really easy. I don't have to stand in line outside of a record store or something like that. So that's where you have also to think, what do you fans want, and give it to them. And these fans that do pre-saves, for example, or these fans that are willing to do something else for you, I think you have to keep them and reward them and get to know them better. For example, something I really like to do, for example, I don't know, what if we make a party, a release party, and we just invite people who did a pre-save on Spotify? Like, we're all winning in there. Like, you're getting people directed to Spotify. Also, the pre-save automatically makes somebody follows your profile on Spotify. That's something that's not so obvious, because it's not like Instagram or YouTube that if you don't follow, you cannot like use it. And you also give them an exclusive experience, rewarding them for being like more fan than other fans. And that's also really cool, like knowing who are these people, because you get their mails on like database, and these are people who are willing to go like further for you. And I think you can like do other kinds of stuff, like maybe why don't you then send them an email and letting them know about an exclusive line of merch that you just released. Or I don't know, maybe you also write poems and you don't feel comfortable publishing them on Instagram, maybe you can send them out to them, or like stuff like this. I don't know. I think tools are there, and like we have to be creative in order to make them interesting and make them useful. That's something like I think the four of us are experts at, but anybody can do it. And I think also like musicians and artists are really creative people, so they should like also use that creativity and think about the fans, like what they want, like what would I want if I was a fan of somebody, what would I want to see or to get or to do. So I think that's like the way it can work. And also, I think there's like other analytic tools out there, like really, really easy on internet, that I just realized when I started like going deeper on this. There's a lot of information out there. For example, you can know like your fans, like for example, photography, and maybe you didn't knew that. So maybe you make a collab with a really cool analog photograph person that shows not only you singing on your video, but he also shows the process of developing pictures. I don't know, like just make a story out of there. I think that's a really cool way to use all the information that you've got with something that people may like.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about, really, and especially on social media. And you can read the series that we have on our blog talking about making music social, and on our Instagram where we talk about it a lot. But it always comes back to a narrative. It always comes back to how can you bring people along in your journey. And I love your ideas talking about you can send people an email with photos of your poetry or just handwritten lyrics for the song you have, or you can say some winners will be getting Polaroids mailed to them in the mail, or something like that. Lots of easy, relatively cheap ways to do this, and it creates further content. So it's like, not only did these 500 people pre-save my song and 10 of them got sent Polaroids in the mail, but I shared each of the Polaroids that I sent out on my story, and it gave me more reason to keep talking about how valuable my fans are to me. And that data that you're collecting, those emails, those IP addresses that once it's out, if they're going through your smart link, you can collect their IP addresses and use them in advertising or other places like that. And that those new follows on those platforms, those create a long tail of this pool of really active, passionate people that will go out and kind of spread the good word of what your music is all about. And I think that's something we always try to preach in the Direct to Fan department is that a super fan can create 10 new casual fans, but a casual fan probably won't create any new fans themselves.
And I also think that it's really, really interesting. Like, I don't know. I feel like music, it's something that you can have in common with somebody and get friends, for example. And that's usually like a profile. So your fans have a profile, which if you learn about it, like you can find other people that could be your fans, but they haven't heard your music yet. So that's also like a really interesting approach about knowing your fan base. And also like, I don't know, like maybe I like Post Malone and I also like photography. So probably my friend that's also a photographer may like Post Malone. So that's like another way to reach him. Also like remarketing, like those kinds of tools are really, really useful to find new fans. Like from the fans that you already got, you should go and find out new fans.
Yeah. And I think that's what it all comes back to is you're building an audience, you're telling your story every day, and you're trying to take the fans you have and extrapolate them out to new fans in that way. And so I think what we covered here is a lot of the most important stuff that the Direct to Fan department handles at ONErpm, and I think it's a big part of what makes social media so important in the future of the music industry. So we hope this has been insightful for you, and for any tuning in, please don't forget to go follow us on socials and reach out to us on socials or on our blog. And if with any questions you might have, we are all curious about this. We love talking about it every day, and and we'll be there to answer your questions. So thanks again for tuning in. Bye, guys.
We're closing out day 3 of ONErpm Academy with a very special ONErpm Studios Masterclass, all about developing your artist image in 3 simple steps, with ONErpm Studios in the United States, Colombia, and Brazil. Thank you so much for watching.
Welcome to ONErpm Academy. This is our last day, and we are here with the studios from Bogota with Juanita Molano and Natalia Mecachi from Sao Paulo, Brazil. I don't know if you know, but the ONErpm have a special service for our artists. Let's call it a premium service that we have at different studios in New York, Nashville, Bogota, Sao Paulo, and Nigeria, and Mexico City. So one of the things that we love to talk with the artist is basically we have a lot of new artists coming on our studio. A lot of them don't have too much, let's call it an idea how they can start. So basically this workshop or masterclass is about how they can know better themselves to promote their image. So starting with this conversation, normally I like to make a few questions for the artist. Is, you know well yourself? Are you comfortable with the image that you have? And the other one, it is, do you have an alter ego? You have like a way that you can show yourself as an artist? That is a question that normally is not answered. That means that we sometimes need to help the artist to create their image. And normally when we want to create the image for an artist, the better is try to know the human. What is behind that artist? Of course, behind that music. When a musicians have music, yeah, they have it ready. But when they try to promote their music, like trying to create a new photo session or the first photo session, sometimes they don't have a concept. They only wants to make a photo session and a music video. That is a mistake, because basically we need to talk with the artist first before to create the work. And one of the things that we are going to talk in this masterclass are 3 steps. The first one is know yourself. The second one is, when you know yourself, how you can put that ideas into reality. And Natalia Mecati, that is an expert in most of all how you can promote the content that you create, how you can go to TV or other kind of, let's call it, media to promote your work. So starting with an artist is not easy. As everything is very complicated, most of all because you need to know that person very well or know yourself very well. Why? Because everybody is different. And the alter ego is very important to try to create one at the moment that you want to show yourself as an artist. What that means, you cannot be that musician inside of your house when you are like with your family. You have to be that human, but at the moment that you are in an scenario, you need to be that artist. Sometimes, or a lot of times, that not happen. So my first advice for that is, what kind of artist you feel that you are? Okay, sometimes the questions are like, okay, I like to to feel that I'm very simple. I don't like to use too many clothes, like only white t-shirt and jeans. Okay, that's okay. Bruce Springsteen did that. Others can say, no, I love to use like costumes and big shoes and strange guitars or whatever. Okay, you can do it, but there is another question that I always do. Are you comfortable showing that image? Can you? Sometimes say yes, or others say, I love that image, but I don't feel comfortable with that. Okay. So I have another question for that as well for the artist. How can you promote yourself and be comfortable with your image? Know yourself. Know what you want to tell to the people, because when you're trying to copy someone or trying to be other, let's call it, your message is not going to be honest for the other people. We here in ONErpm Studios, we develop any kind of content, from music videos, live sessions, lyric videos, photo sessions, interviews, documentals, anything that have to be with audio and video, or let's call it other kind of creativity. But musicians have a big problem right now, is they don't sometimes feel comfortable when they show themselves, and it's why that is because they try to copy someone and they try to be other person than they are not. When I have someone in the studio, the first thing that I try to see is the difference of the person between the guy that I have out of the scenario and the guy that I have inside of the scenario. Sometimes that change, sometimes don't. When don't change, I need to create an alter ego, because I don't care if they have the same clothes or outfit. It is more in the attitude. Some people show like another, let's call it, attitude in front of the camera. When they are behind are other people. So when you try to create a photo session, or for someone that is beginning in the music career, it is very important to create that their person feel very comfortable what are they showing. An example, if you see that an artist or yourself as an artist is not creating a good communication, is because it's not honest. They try to pretend be other person. From our side, we try to avoid that. Of course, we try to say with advices to the musicians, hey, don't do that because you are not going to feel okay. And the people notice that very easy. So what happens? If the artist try to create an image that is not honest, the people are not going to follow them. I like to think that if you are honest, you don't have to look for the fans. The fans are going to look for you in the future, because the people try to see what is happening right now in the music. And if you can sing reggaeton, trap music, rock and roll, whatever, but if you don't show yourself very honest to the public, it's going to look fake, and the people right now can notice that very easy. And that's why we can see a lot of artists that they start with an image, and in the second album is another image with no concept, and then happen and happen and happen. So when we create an image for an artist, we try to create something that can perdure with the time, that can be longer than only for a one photo session. If we do it very well, this is like the most important part of the audiovisual image of an artist. Let's call it the structure, because we like to think that let's think as a blueprint. If you are an artist, you can say that you can be like a building, and you create a blueprint before to construct that building. That is, let's call it, the concept of the artist. When you have that blueprint ready, you need to create a big hole in the floor, let's call it the structure, and have to be very, very, very strong. And that is the idea. When you create that hole in the floor with a with a big structure, when you start to create your building, no one can tear down your building because it's very strong. So it is very important to start having that concept very strong before to do any further step, because that is going to make basically for you the future of your image. If you have it very clear, you can go to the next step. That will be that how you can create all that ideas and bring it into reality. That's why we have Juanita Molano here. You're in mute, Juanita.
Sorry about that. Hi everyone, how are you doing? Well, Rafa already taught us how to identify yourself as an artist, but it's very important to put that idea onto products, audiovisual products, photo shoots, or whatever you need. You have to print that idea of yours, your project, visually. So I have some tips for you to understand how to build that pad. So first, I think it's very important to understand the current snapshot you are in. In what stage are you in? What are you working on right now? What kind of music are you doing? And also, what kind of subjects are you talking about in your lyrics? I think that the most important question here is, how do people feel your music? Because all these will help you understand what kind of artist you are right now, and will help you focus on what you truly need. What are your needs right now? And when you understand what you need in your project, you start to ask yourself some other questions, as what do you need to attract, or how do you want to show yourself in those products, as Rafa said before. Those questions will help you also understand not only what you need to produce, but also what kind of audiovisual and visual communication are you going to build, and how is that going to be a true connection. That is what we are all aiming for right now. These connections, you can understand how they work if you understand your audience, and when you have like a really clear image of your audience, you can truly understand how to connect with them and how to make your visual communication very assertive. So try to understand truly who you are talking to. Try to understand what they listen to, what they like. Even though if your project is true and people will come searching for you, it's very important to understand the language you're speaking. So this will at the end help you understand the tone you're going to use in all your productions. Also, I think that's a very important idea here, is that feelings or emotion are the core and the powerhouse of music, and at the end of art. So here we're mixing both. We're mixing image, we're mixing video, and we're mixing music. So try to really seize the emotions your music is actually like trying to explore in everyone else, to actually communicate with your fans. So it's very important to understand how your music is felt by others. If maybe your music is maybe about danger, you can actually print that essence in your video, or in your video clip, or in your photos, or in any kind of communication you need. You can amplify that feeling. So try to think about the feeling that your music produces in everyone else. I think that when you understand all this and all this data, you can actually understand the format that you are going to use. You may need, for example, a photo shoot for press, for example, but you understood that your fan base moves a lot in TikTok. So maybe you can do a behind the scenes of this photo shoot, so you can connect with your audience in this platform, and you're mixing now photo shoot that are photos with video, and you're creating truly an honest communication with your fans. So try to really understand where you can find your audience and how to talk to them, because this will make a difference eventually. Maybe, I don't know, maybe your fans love the way you write your songs and really appreciate that, and they love to learn that. Maybe a video lyric would be one of the greatest way to help them learn your songs. So it's about truly understanding what works for you as an artist, what works for your fans, and where to actually send this information, send these connections. And it's not about doing something truly expensive or very complicated. If you understand everything that we've said above, you can truly connect with people and make them feel through your music and your videos and your photos. Also, I would like to say that this is not about being super close to a specific audience. You can also experiment with formats and with a lot of information, but the only thing that it's truly important, it's not to lose what you've built as an artist. Like, experimenting doesn't always end up losing yourself. So keep that in mind. Don't lose the artist you've built, the concept you've built, but experiment in very different formats and in many different platforms also, so you can reach more people. I think that maybe doing very usual things applied in different places, applied in different aspects on your career can actually make a difference. You don't have to go crazy or anything. You can do very innovative, cool stuff using things that you already know in different places or in unusual ways. So try to understand that, and you will surely understand what you will need to do with the contents you create. And don't stop exploring. I think that's also very, very important. And well, that's a way, and that's a path from many, of course, to understand how to land your ideas onto concrete productions and assets and everything you need visually. So take that in mind.
So, and when we have all this ready, we have the third step, that is with Natalia Mekachi.
Yeah. So when you have your image and after you have your product, and you need to know what you want with this. You need to have a goal. Yeah. You need to know what you want with this product, what you want to talk, what you want to communicate. And you need to know that everyone has a way of seeing, of thinking, of doing the things, and disapproval will happen. And if you want to have an aesthetic, a visual, you need to know how to deal with this. Yes, you need to know, because if you think that, oh, somebody said something for me and I will change my image, I can change my product, and another time I will do different. So no identity for you. You need to have an identity, and this is my identity. I love this, and it's good for me, and my fans like me this way, and I will continue. If you disapproval, you are not my fan, my public. Yes. So, and after you have a goal, and you need to think. You need to think in post production. Yes. You create your product, and you have to know money and to have a goal to communicate this product. Where you communicate in television, social media, what I want, you need to have a plan. Because if you put this product in all of ways, all of places, I think it's not a good way. Yes, you need to know. I will put more money, more energy in this way. I will put my energy in television. So I will do my product for this, and I will communicate, and I will put my base of fans in this way. Yeah. And after, I think you need to not only to work with your product, so you need to see another products, yes, to understand another language, another way to communicate it, and to know what I can do in my next step. Yes, now I have this product, I'm communicating this product, and I need to think in the other, and after. What I'll do after this product, because sometimes most of people do this audiovisual product, and after what I do with this, and after I'm communicating this product and stop here, and the continuation. Yes, you need to continue it. You need to plan with money to do 1, 2, 3 videos, and to communicate in television, in social media, and to put money in this. Yes, to communicate, not only organic. You need to put money to communicate in a great public. Yes, a great public. And I think that the most important thing to have in mind is I need a plan. I need a plan for all things in my life. You plan your life, and you need to plan your career too. Yes. And I think it's the best way to a solid career. If you have a plan for the beginning, for the middle, and to continue until you think it's the end, you have a solid career. And I think it's this what I want to pass for the artists is this: plan your life, plan your career, plan your first product, your second, your third. You need to know what you want. It's not, oh, I want to be an artist, I will produce my video clip and after nothing. Yes. And I know a lot of artists that is in the first excitement produce a big video clip with all money, sell cars, sell all things to produce a video clip, and after and the next step in your career, in your life, you need to know what you want. And I think it's the most important thing.
That's why I like to make the comparison. Like, let's call the purpose a building, a finished building, okay?
Yeah.
That is the purpose of an artist.
Yeah.
So if an artist wants to create a building, he needs 3 steps. How is going to be my building? Let's call it the design. At the moment that you have that design, let's call it, you have cleared your purpose. What do you want with your career? Then you need to create the blueprints. That means go to the idea in your brain, to the blueprint. That means go to create the design of that building. That means that is all preparation before you start your career. When you have that design on the blueprints, you need to start to construct. And what is the first part that you need to create on a building? The internal structure. So if that building have a strong structure, let's call it the concept of an artist, then the building will be very strong at the end of the construction, and will be, of course, a nice building because everybody will understand that building, how many rooms, how many apartments, where it's going to be located. So, and when you finish your building and everything is okay, the people will buy the apartments. That it's like, I love to make that comparison because make a music career, it's basically construct something that need a concept, a preparation, a strong structure, and then create all these kind of things that you need to finish your career. That's why it is very important that you say, Natalia, like, okay, I have the music video, but after what? What are you going to
What?
do? Or
Yeah.
for who? Or where do you want to show it? Or what is the strategy? Yes, we saw a lot of example of people trying to create content with no concept. I don't know if Juanita have saw that previously.
And you need to think this in the beginning. What I want to with my product, not after. Yeah,
No,
you need to think in the beginning.
I think that what you said, it's the key to do a great, like, to create a great career is to plan everything. Plan how are you going to execute, how are you going to think about it, how are you going to everything, because if you don't plan anything, then everything can fall apart very, very easily. So yes, I've seen many artists without a structure, that they just don't follow and they don't know what to do next, and they they push everything on one single effort, and then everything is done and they don't know what to do next. And it's so important to always be like one step ahead of everything to really understand where you're going, because then everything can stop. And yeah,
That's why it's so
And
important, the purpose of
and
your
you need to think like a company. You need to think like not a person, it's a company. You are a product and a company. You need to think, and every time I say this, you are a product, you need a company. Yes, you need to think like a boss. You are your boss. Yes, you need to create a way to do this. And Rafa said about the building, and after, when you rent all floors of the building, you need to think in another building. I will construct another building. It's the next step. Yes. And I think it's the best way for a solid career.
I think when the artists have that clear in some point from the beginning, that helps them a lot to, let's call it, develop their career in a clear way. Because I so sorry for saying this, a lot of artists saying, hey, what is your purpose? No, my purpose is create money. Okay, it's not a bad purpose, it's okay as well, but even with that, they don't know exactly how they want to create the money. Or they say, no, I just want to tell stories. Okay, tell stories. So it is very important to have the purpose. What do you want to communicate or show to your fans or the people with your music or your art? Because if you are not clear with that, it's very difficult to know where do you want to go. That's why I like to repeat, like, if you do the things well, you don't have to look or beg for the fans. The fans are going to find you. And if you do it very well, they will follow you. And if you do it much better, you will create a new path that other artists wants to create.
to follow as well. Yeah.
Exactly. So do you have any last advice, Juanita and Natalia, for the artist, like in all this topic about, of course, the audiovisual or the concept of be an artist that can help them to, okay, this is good to makes me think, how can I let's improve my work?
Well, a way to improve your work is to truly, I think that I've already said that, but I think that is one of the main points here, is that you need to listen how you connect with people, how your music connect with people. That's the core to connect in every other aspect. So be very aware of what you're doing with your music, and how is your music making everyone else feel. And then you will have a really clear path how to follow an audiovisual project from your music.
Natalia?
Yeah.
Any advice?
I think it's the most important is to know how to deal with the mistakes, with the disapproval, with the problems in the middle, in the way of your career. Yes. Today everything is okay, tomorrow no, and you need to know how to deal with this. And with this in mind, you need to grow up. Yes, you need to do more things. Yes, because if you want to have a aesthetic, a figure, yes, it's a figure. It's not you. You create a person. You need to know how to deal with this. Yes, you need to know a proper proposal. Yes, and it's very important know how to deal with the worst things of the life and in your career.
Thank you very much. So thank you everybody for hearing this short masterclass. If anyone have any comments or questions, you can leave it in the streaming, and please you can reach us to ONErpm Studios on Instagram, and we have the complete service for the artists, as we mentioned before, in Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, US, and Nigeria. And of course, we will try coming soon to other countries, because the idea is to have this, let's call it, unique service in the music industry that is helping the artist to develop an image, and normally it's like a premium service that we create. So if anyone have any questions or comments, please let us know, and have a great afternoon, and bye everybody.
Bye everyone.
Bye bye.